There's been this new wave of climate protests where protesters are gluing themselves to paintings, and I think this is kind of cool because it's not hurting anybody. Have you seen those climate protests where they're like blocking traffic and stuff? There is not a single quicker way to get people against your cause than to block traffic. Imagine if the Salvation Army bell-ringing Santa like illegally detained you until you gave them $1. I'd start burning my old clothes to make sure they never can hand it out to the needy. There was this one climate protest where the protesters were like blocking traffic, and this one guy on parole comes out and just begs them to open up like just one lane of traffic so they could go through, because if he doesn't go to work, then he goes back to jail. And hours later, he's back in jail. Great call, protesters. That is the origin story for some Captain Planet type climate villain. He's probably like running some old car 24/7, buying gallons of paint just to like dump down the drain, marry someone for the Maka tribe so he can legally hunt whales. Just imagine if you were in an ambulance. Hey, I know you're having a heart attack right now, but Taylor Swift is using her private jet a little too much, and that's bad for the climate. I guess the only person these protesters could hurt is like some guy on vacation. Like, you save up all this money to take your family to the Louvre to see the Mona Lisa, only to find like Meadow and Clayton smeared their Applebee's leftovers all over it. And it's a little weird how climate protesters will target paintings. It's 2022. Just throw some pixelated printed JPEG image under some plexiglass and call it a day. I don't even think anybody would notice. Nowadays, art museums are all about getting your picture taken next to art so you can add some vapid caption showing how deep and thoughtful you are. But at least climate protesters are doing something. They really make me realize how lazy I am. You know, I'll pull out the pitchforks over Ugly Sonic, but when it comes to the protection of our planet, bah. Mario Rabbids Kingdom 2 just came out, and I'm a little busy saving the galaxy. I work 40 hours a week. I don't have time to glue myself to a Matisse and then sit in jail till Monday. I gotta go grocery shopping. Maybe I can protest the climate at Target while I'm buying Tupperware. And it's interesting how these people choose what to protest. There's thousands of issues on Earth. They're worried about the climate while I'm watching the video thinking how much that can of soup costs after inflation. That was name brand Campbell's. Just another example of how rich white kids bogart a movement. But honestly, climate change is a great thing to protest because it's coming no matter what. It's like boycotting the Fast and Furious franchise. It doesn't matter how much you kick and scream, Dominic Toretto is getting back behind that wheel. It's like the climate protesters are yelling at some car parked on the train tracks while an 18-ton locomotive comes barreling down the tracks. The protesters are like banging on the car, looking in the windows, trying to get the door open, and that guy inside the car is just token up while rocking out to Gangnam Style. I'm just afraid that these protests might have negative consequences. Soon we're all gonna need like rectal checks at the front of museums to make sure nobody's smuggling any cans of soup. And you thought the TSA after 9/11 was bad, just wait till they start profiling every girl with multicolored hair. But it's gotta be hard to protest in the digital age, because it's all about setting trends now. Climate protesters need to start the next Icebox challenge. You either donate $1 to fight climate change or you whip your lunch against some classical masterpiece. I couldn't even imagine performing on the spot like that though. They're out there busting soup out like lightning, and I can't even open a can at my home without cutting myself. If you ever have spaghetti at my house, the red sauce is like 90% my blood. But these climate protesters really need to kick it up a notch. They should like glue themselves to the wall and start singing karaoke, because there's nothing that inspires me to change more than two amateurs singing Barry Manilow's Mandy. Who says protests can't be campy? Honestly, these climate protesters do show some serious commitment. One guy even glued his head to a painting. I don't even have the motivation to finish Stranger Things. And you know, that takes a lot of courage for that protester to glue his head to the painting, because now it's up to the cops to unstick him. He's trusting people that got D's in high school with his face. And honestly, I'm surprised that the cops aren't just pulling the protesters off the wall with or without their hands. And the police reactions are how you know that these climate protests aren't taking place in America. In America, those soup cans would be considered a dangerous weapon and those protesters would be toast. Honestly, it's kind of sad that these climate change protesters have to convince some older people that it won't even affect. Boomers, Generation X got to litter, put any kind of hairspray in their hair, dump anything down the drain, and I'm over here in therapy over the guilt over not composting my Chipotle bag. It's like boomers just cut a huge fart in a full elevator and dipped out. Grandpa grew up in an age where consent was just a mere suggestion. I think it's time to rein in their freedoms just a little bit. And then there's those people that rather prep for a disaster than try to fix climate change. You know, they'll learn how to filter their own urine to drink, but they draw the line at driving a hybrid. Cause that's some commie shit. If Fallout has taught me anything, it's that secluding yourself underground for centuries is the right way to go.